Hello and welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. And how about yourself?
It's decision day.
Yeah, well, it will be this weekend. Yes.
It will be. So anyway, we got a great guest on the show. Somebody last year I met in the semifinals last year was tough.
Yeah.
But hey, Union, bowed out. And now it's poetic. Union versus Cincinnati on decision day. And we got I would say friend, person that I've interacted with many times. Again, thank you for the recommendation on
Oh, yeah, the nomination. Yes,
yeah, the
thank you.
nomination on Fabian's podcast for both of
Yeah.
us. And hey, Justin Blair from Cincinnati Soccer Talk is on our podcast today. Talk a little bit about, the upcoming match against friends, rivals, foes, whatever you wanna call it. So, Justin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's kind of still settling into the work week right now, but
Yep.
it's, other than that, I'm doing great. And as we wind this down, going into the playoffs, I just can't wait to see how this one shakes out. I think there's some first time in a long time the MLS has some great storylines up and down the playoff. So we'll see how things go in decision day.
We certainly will.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be quite interesting this weekend.
So what are you wearing today?
Not that you can see it because the lighting is so crap. It washes out everything. But I am wearing one of my new shirts that I got at the Union store. It was on sale and it's kind of like cream colored, but it has like a rainbowy snake on it. And on the back it has the soccer for all thing that's like kind of
Yeah.
pastel rainbowy. So I thought that was fun, but I waited for it to go on sale because I was not paying $50 for a t-shirt.
I
And
don't blame.
I'm wearing, it's Mikel Uwa's warm-up kit that we got at the,
Locker room
store.
sale.
Yeah,
Locker room sale. Yeah.
yeah. And so, honestly, like, I wore this because if the Union gonna have any success, it's gonna be the front 3 on Saturday.
Yep, and they didn't get the ball in the back of the net against Columbus. No, the big, the front three did, and well, we saw how that game went. So,
Yep,
yep. And how about you, Justin? What are you wearing?
I love this.
Tonight I'm repping Monterey kid. I got Brandon Vasquez kid. I had to, like, the second he was announced on the team, I was like, I gotta get one of those kids because I'm just a geek for our guys. You know what I mean? Like it's really cool that they get a chance to go follow their passion, their dreams. And if they come back to FC Cincinnati, that's great. But I really appreciative of Vasquez and what he was able to do with the club, and I'm so happy for him, his wife, and his newborn that they've really kind of made a home down in Monterey.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah,
It's same thing with Jose
that's what I
Martinez
was
right
about to
now.
say. Yeah,
Yeah,
like we're
yeah,
following him down at Corinthians, and it's been great to follow him. And the fact, he's so important to the Union. Everybody loves him, and so it was definitely a big blow losing him, but also, you got to be happy for him getting that
and
opportunity.
then Julian.
And Julian Carranza as well at Feyenoord. So,
Yeah,
yeah, you want to see him go off and have success. I know Jose Martinez would love to, someday finish out his career in Philly, which, hey, we would welcome him back with open arms for
Absolutely.
sure. So,
yeah.
It's not every day that you get a junkyard dog workman mentality that Martinez brought. I mean, he just brought something different. I think he was a gold standard as a six
He
for
really was. I
like
mean,
3 or 4 years. I mean, like that guy was a dog.
yeah, he was pretty much, made to fit in Philly. I mean, my goodness. If more people cared about soccer in Philly, I think like, they would just have loved him as well. Like the people that
Yeah,
are more casual. Oh my gosh.
no,
it was very much a Brian Dawkins mentality. It
Yeah.
really was, wasn't it? It was somebody that was just gonna
Hmm.
go in, and I mean, he had one mission, and that was to dispossess you from the ball, and it was such a joy to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
right.
So, so Our podcast can be found on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. So if you're not already subscribed to those, you're listening, please make sure you check those out. And our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com, where we will be posting content. And even depending on how the weekend goes and if our season ends, we will still have content coming.
And you
And
too.
Union 2 play on Sunday, playoff game against NYCFC 2 at Subaru Park, which we will be there as well. So, we still have plenty of content coming up, so definitely check that out.
So let's get into it.
Yeah. So, Justin, just tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into writing and covering Cincy.
Yeah, so we have at Cincinnati Soccer Talk, it's a truly fan-run website. I mean, there's really, I know this may be a shocker to a lot of people in the sports media. There's not a lot of money in it. So this is just a bunch of guys that really, and gals, that really, really enjoy soccer and really enjoy what FC Cincinnati means to the city and what it means to them, right? They're fans in the stands as well. So whenever an opportunity came, I think it was toward the end of 2022, that they said, "Hey, if anybody would like to help us, write, I have a history in writing sports broadcast coverage." So I was like, "Yeah, absolutely," because I was kind of new to it too. I was like, "This is a great way to kind of learn the thing." I've been a soccer fan for quite a while, but not much of an MLS fan, right? I've kind of just watched international soccer. That was pretty much all I watched for quite some time. So I was like, man, I really enjoy this. And you got something that magical with that. I'm sure the Union do with their like Sons of Ben, but like the supporter groups, like the community, the family involved in it, and being able to learn those stories, but also watch some compelling soccer. I mean, that's been really fortunate in my time having some really good years, a really good uptick with FC Cincinnati. So I was like, man, I'm all in. I'll come back season after season.
That's kind of our story.
Yeah, that does remind me quite a bit about us. Yeah, I mean, and we started out being just, fans and, in the supporter section in Sons of Ben, and here we are covering this, and we love it.
It's been a journey.
It has
So
been.
Justin, it's been a journey for us. Like when you and I were sitting there last year in the press box, like I told you, it's been a journey for us. And you were out there.
I was with the fans,
Yes.
freezing my butt off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
But
cold night.
it was a
Yeah.
cold night, but I mean, these are the memories that when we're old, we're
Mhm.
gonna cherish. And that's something that is really, really special to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say too, like when we went out there, what a great stadium, and just love the atmosphere, and just the area you have around there too. Like it was
Mhm.
really great to see all of that, and just how bought in the people are there for Cincy. And everyone was so nice that we talked to. Now,
Yeah.
it's all business when we're up in the stands,
But
but
yeah,
like
same way
but
in
everyone
Philly.
was really cool. Yeah. And yeah, seriously.
And we get that. But seriously though, like the passion of the Bailey, like we saw this at USL. Like what FC Cincinnati was in USL and like what they are now. Like I would say, it's good to see when Cincinnati's good, that's good for MLS in my
Mhm.
Yeah.
opinion. I don't know how you feel, Justin.
No, I definitely agree. I think there are some clubs out there. I think Austin's one of them too. I think
Yeah.
when Austin's really good, that's something that's really good for the league. But yeah, I think having that kind of support, and especially where Cincinnati's come from,
Mhm.
Mhm.
like building it up from USL days, but also like surviving like miserable seasons.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, COVID and you're really losing. It's
Mhm.
like that's good enough to kill a lot of teams. But the fans, the right people, and I'm speaking directly to the fans. The right people were in the right places to keep this thing going, and I'm so appreciative of that because my kids are now singing the Cincinnati chants. My wife wants to go down to the games and stuff like that. So I'm so thankful for everybody that's supported this club. or worked with this club that has been able to create that kind of culture. I'm so happy that you guys had a good time. Sometimes Midwest gets some bad rap on the hospitality, but I'm glad that you had a good time with everybody.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, Philly gets a bad rap too
Yeah.
for our sports fans, so I
yeah.
get it. But no, we had a really nice time, and we went to some of the bars around and everything, and like had a great time. Like,
I mean, the breweries there.
oh, the breweries were great.
Yeah, I mean, we hit up all the breweries, we hit up Finley Market, I mean,
Hmm.
all that. I mean, if this year's game was not on a birthday when we were out on a vacation, we
Yeah, we were in
thought
Las Vegas actually, for the game that was at
it
Cincy.
was the night before our anniversary, so we got
Yeah.
to watch that in our hotel room.
Yeah, it's funny because being in Vegas, by the way, before that, and that's like when Ty Bariba was just finally getting playing time.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I joked to Kyle, I'm like, before the game started, I'm like, Ty Bariba is going to score a brace, and he did. And I'm like, why didn't I put money on that? I'm in Vegas. That would I just like offhanded, like I'm like, Ty's going to score a brace. Just watch. And
No,
then he did.
no, I mean, like, next time, if next year's Saturday game, we'll be out there, but,
Yeah. So have you been to Philly?
I have not. No, I've actually, to be honest with you, as far as MLS goes, I've only been to Cincinnati's and Columbus for a
Okay.
stadium. So I'm still trying to venture out. I have two small children right now, so
Yeah.
like getting
Yeah.
away for a whole weekend on a travel is something I'm still trying to negotiate. My wife
Yeah.
is a blessing. She will give me a lot of rope during the season to go cover the team. But yeah, I would love to go. The views up there are incredible. I love your all stadium. Sons of Ben, we've already talked about. I
Yeah.
think they're one of the best support groups when they're in attendance, and I'm not trying to shot across the bow.
No, trust me. Trust
No,
me. No, we'll be the first to like
trust me, yeah,
agree.
we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But no, yeah, definitely if you get the chance, come on out. And honestly,
yeah, honestly, let us
people
know.
are actually very friendly too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I might
Um,
have to do a double dip and go to a Eagles game because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
grew up in a city that didn't have a professional team.
Hmm.
So like you just got random teams every single weekend. And the Eagles were a team I loved. That was
Oh,
McNabb,
right on.
Westbrook, and Terrell Owens. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, when Terrell Owens left, that's when my interest went.
Oh. Yeah.
mm,
No,
But
I'm the big Eagles fan here. Of course, Kyle likes the Dolphins. Ugh.
yeah,
yeah, I
But
mean, we're
Dan
not gonna
Marino
talk about
doesn't play there anymore, buddy.
yeah.
the sad thing is I'm a big Tua lover. I love
There you
Tua,
go.
but, I mean, it's like Joe Burrow,
Yeah,
both of them gotta stay healthy. I
yeah,
mean, but that's another discussion for another
Yeah.
time.
absolutely.
So, let's talk about you and your father. I mean, you grew up going to Kentucky, got into writing, and now you're covering Florida University. How did that all go about? You posted that comment a couple months ago, and I'm like,
Yeah.
these are stories I love to hear about.
Yeah, so in 1993, my dad started a publication covering his passion, the University of Kentucky. My dad is one of those people that grew up in a coal mining town and would drive to the top of the mountain to get the radio signal so he could
Hmm.
listen to Kentucky basketball games. So he is a diehard person, and he just put his passion into writing. He started a publication, did it for years. I mean, most of my childhood was just traveling through the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, going to games and stuff like that for that. And in 2008, my dad needed a road photographer for an Alabama game, so he threw a camera at me, and I mean, have you ever seen the Ashton Kutcher like commercials where he's sitting around with the point and click camera? That's me.
Yes.
I had no clue what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, that. But it like I just kept, we kept going and trying different things. I started doing some like, I wanted to try my hand in doing some writing on their website, and it just stuck. And I was like, I really like writing stories because you get to tell the story in a way like everybody watched the game, but being able to write kind of a not a synopsis, but somebody like being able to tell like to show like for somebody that didn't watch the game or for somebody that did watch the game to be able to express emotions like what significance drives and situations were, and I just fell in love with it. So again, going to FC Cincinnati, that was a blast. But I just recently started getting back into the collegiate thing. I'm now writing with a group, Hell Florida Hell, covering all sorts of Florida athletics. So it's just it's so much fun to be able to do it. It doesn't matter what you get paid. Doesn't matter. That's not why people do it. People do it because probably going to be one of those guys at the water cooler saying all this stuff anyway. So might as well, write it down.
No, I love that. Yeah, I mean, that's the best, having passion just to do it,
Yeah, I mean,
and
like I say all the time, I got out of college, you know, degree in communication, started writing swimming, got into coaching, got out of coaching, started writing again. My mom's a writer. She's been a writer for probably now 30 years of my life. And, I always wrote growing up because my family was all teachers, so I had to write. And, like, yeah, so, I mean, writing's always been my blood. And Jillian would be the first to say I'm bad at grammar.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
the
think we
editor.
all do. Yeah.
I edit. I have to
yeah,
edit everything.
but being a teacher, she would. But I mean, at the end of the day, I love writing. And, growing up in high school and even in college, I wrote stories. And it's just like, I don't care. Like, I just like to cover soccer. I grew up playing soccer. I played soccer until I turned over to swimming. I say it all the time. And, like, it's just fun to go back to this, like, a sport I grew up with. And,
Mm.
there's memories, and that's why I get involved. I mean, now, like, her going in on this, like,
Yeah, I'm rating too, but I
yeah.
I don't do the X's and O's type of stuff. I do more of like
Well,
the
none of us
story.
do. I
Well,
mean,
no.
we'll leave that to professionals like Todd Lewis
Yes.
and Jose. I mean, this
Yes.
guy's no soccer. Now, I played soccer growing up, traveling team, and but at the end of the day, like, it's passion, and
It's
that's why
passion.
you do it, and that's really why I like your writing, Justin. I mean, it's passion.
I
It's
appreciate
it
that.
is still the fandom, but now we're
Yeah.
kind of transitioning, but we're still fans at the end of the day. And
At the end of the day, yep.
and I've always said this, and I've learned this from a professor that was covering the Phillies at the time. He grew up diehard Phillies fan. And he said, if you're not a fan, don't get in this business. Like, it's not for you. You have to be a fan. You need to take the fandom from a 10 to a 5, but you can still be a fan. And that's why when I hear people say, oh, I don't care about this
Oh,
team, and,
yeah.
I'm going
There's
to,
a few
yeah,
people that that are like
I don't care about this.
mm,
And it's like,
more
well,
jaded about
then
it.
why are you covering this team? Like, you still got to care about the team because
Yeah.
there are stories beyond just hey, Jim Curtin gave a press conference. Here's a story. Like, there's also other stories. Like, well, let's talk about the third guy on the bench as a striker that's working his butt off. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
And
he's
and,
got a
and
story. There are stories, and I think that's the beautiful thing of our art.
Yeah, we try to cover some of the other stories. Heck, I wrote a story about
A
the
cat.
cat, that the sons of Ben, like some of the sons of Ben, like, were adopted that they had found on the grounds, little kitten. So,
oh, that's
and
awesome.
they bring the cat to the tailgates and actually even take it inside the stadium for the Union 2 games. So,
Oh,
it's
perfect.
like, yeah, it's great. That was one of my favorite ones I've ever done. So, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have so many great stories too. It's like the Ambazo story about his family and stuff like that, and making and
Yeah.
like reconnecting with that. I mean that there's a million stories, and you're right. And like you can't be I don't want to say you can't be a super fan,
No.
because there is a different veil that
Yeah.
happens
Mhm.
whenever you're covering a team as
Yeah.
it like if you are somebody that is truly like, I mean, the emotions are just pouring out of your soul, a fan for a team, covering a team may not be the best idea because
No.
you get
Yeah.
behind the scenes and not everything looks the way that
Yeah.
it may appear, but it is truly something that is just it's a complete blessing that we get the opportunity, and so thankful for some of these clubs like the Union and uh, FC Cincinnati for allowing us to continue covering
And
teams.
and I'll say this, I think there's a lot of stories that other MLS clubs need to allow these people that are covering the
Yeah.
teams. You're an ASR, I'm an ASR. We,
Yep.
you know,
Hopefully I will be soon.
yeah, yeah, hopefully you will be soon. But I think there are stories that people want to cover, and I think the league needs to do a better job. How you feel about that? And I'm not trying to
Yeah.
get anybody in trouble, but like I
No.
think I think there can be a little bit more dialogue between the league and people trying to make the next step.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. I think FC Cincinnati famously just had a at the beginning of this year a situation with one of the reporters where you
Mhm.
know now
Mhm.
there were mistakes made, I will say that, but they're and kind of uncharacteristic, but like when you're going out of the club to go talk to somebody, I mean that shouldn't be something that's you're getting a hard slap on the wrist for. Like, if you're going behind, that's I think where the MLS kind of falls short, right? There's still this mentality that like we have to kind of not control the narrative per se, but try to not upset things too much. Like that's
Mhm.
like the messaging we always get in our
Yeah.
Mhm.
reporting, and it's kind of frustrating because I think a lot of fans are trying to give us that feedback and saying, "Hey, like maybe you guys are all sunshine and rainbows and stuff." And it's like, but you really don't get to see anything other than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can
Mhm.
do the deep diving and going and stuff like that, but players aren't allowed to talk to media without comms. Like communication staffs completely control the entire thing on that. So, and then they're not pumping narratives and stuff. They're just trying to make sure that, this is a genuine interview and stuff like that. But there's
Right.
only so much contact and comfort in communicating with people. And I think um, we're not, I don't think anybody in the MLS when a league has started in 1996, I don't think anybody is established enough to where they can kind of pull weight in a like Philadelphia Union locker room or FC Cincinnati. So it's growing. And I think the fan
Yeah.
base is not naive enough to believe that everything is sunshine and rainbows all the time, and that sometimes it can get a little bit gritty. But yeah, I think there's the victim of that is all the different storylines that you could get that you're not necessarily going to ask in a training session, or you're not going to
Mhm.
necessarily ask whenever you're doing a post game interview with somebody, like a real conversation with somebody in the club.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we try to get some people on our podcast sometimes and, get those conversations out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just stories.
Yeah. So, let's move to talk about FC Cincinnati. So, can you summarize the team's performance this year compared to the expectations going into the season?
Yeah, going into the season, it's great. Unfortunately, that's the expectations adjusted a little bit during the season. So, uh, for those that didn't know, FC Cincinnati, obviously you're aware we won the Supporter Shield, but we lost quite a bit.
Yeah.
Brandon Vasquez, yeah, Borriel's gone. Yerson Mascara's loan was recalled. I mean, there are some critical pieces to that Supporter Shield winning team that just aren't here. Um, and about midway through the season, I think it was after Inter Miami game, we topped the table. We were in the front running for the Supporter Shield. Now, since that time, basically the like few matches before Leagues Cup and beyond that, it has been a spiraling downhill. I think we've dropped. I think we're 2 wins out of the last 10 matches, and that's just wild for a team that's had so
Yeah.
much success over the last 2 years. So the expectation going into the season was very low. It was okay. Let's get like a 5 or or 4 seed. Like can we just try to get one home field game? Like, is that a possibility? To all of a sudden, like now we're expecting to win the Supporters Shield. Um, I think we're doing good, and I don't think our recent form should discredit that. I think we've had such a successful season. Um, it would be a shame to take the last 10 games as a microcosm. I think when Matt Miazga went down in San Jose, I think that was kind of the turning point of the trajectory of this team. I think that injury, losing the reigning MLS Defender of the Year, really, really, really hurt FC Cincinnati, and it showed up in the playoffs too last year when we didn't have Miazga.
I think it's the same thing with Glesnes, 2022,
Yep.
I mean, we had Matt Real on our podcast, and he said, teams go through these ebbs and flows, and it's not uncommon.
I
And
mean, the
that's,
big thing was, losing Andre Blake for half the season,
Andres
Yeah,
played
basically.
I think
51% of the season. I mean, and you saw, if you've been watching, you see what he's done with Jamaica now, making some great saves in this window. I mean, sure, it's great, but I mean, Union's back is against the wall, but I mean, we still give hope that had Andre played even 70% of the games, we did be having a different conversation right now.
yeah, you guys were without Jack Elliott for a time too, weren't you?
We were for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, we start off with Oliver Zemla. I
Mhm.
mean, Louisville goalie keeper, and he's good, but making that jump from Marshall
Yeah,
to Louisville City, as you know, covering USL, like
absolutely.
we follow the Las Vegas Lights, and even talking to Matt Real and a couple other players that are being on loan. It's a different league.
It's a big jump from
It's a
USL
big
to
jump.
MLS.
It's
Yeah.
a big jump from MLS Next Pro. So
Yeah. And honestly, Zemla got kind of thrown in the fire. And then I think, well, him getting chipped by Borshano, that
yeah,
definitely, I think, kind of broke him at that point.
it
That was
did.
a bad run.
And
Ooh,
but and then
yeah.
you have to put an 8-year-old Andrew Rick, who is a good player, but again, has a lot of development yet in his career. So it's just a very different time for the Union because,
Mhm.
I think for fans that like to call out ownership, that's great. And that's a whole nother,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
that's
whole other podcast right
that's a whole
there.
new podcast.
Oh man,
But,
that was my next question.
well, I mean, well, sure,
We
you
can
can
talk about
answer
it if
that,
you
Oh,
but
I I think I have a sense of it, but I would like your perspective, especially like if you don't
okay, go
mind,
ahead.
I'll
Yeah.
just jump right into it. So
Yeah.
like for me, like I've heard the complaints, right? And it came from the locker room too, right?
Yeah.
Spinning's not
Mm-hmm.
there on players.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Um, that they were able to get that deal done with Blake, and that was a good thing. But like you're selling off Carranza in the same breath, so that's obviously upsetting. It may be a necessary move, maybe a move that, like, I mean, you just have to respect like commitments to players, right? If that was something in the cards, they just got to do it. But for Philadelphia fans, I empathize with you, like not from FC Cincinnati's perspective, just in general, that you felt like this was your window, right?
Mhm.
But now you're looking at some outside threats that were probably not expected. So is this just a buildup of frustration over years, or is this more of looking across the street and saying, wait a second, why aren't we doing that? Because I think Union had a system and it
Yeah.
was touted in this league. So is it now just switching to, okay, we need to be going out and spinning like Miami or FC Cincinnati or Columbus to be able to compete? Or is this just like, okay, this is not working, this has never been working? Like where's the frustration coming from?
Yeah. So, well, okay. So, you know, we're like 90 seconds from winning the MLS Cup, and then freaking Gareth Bale gets brought out. Meanwhile, we have a guy, Chris
Chris
Donovan from Paoli, Pennsylvania, coming off the bench, and it's just like, and no offense to Chris Donovan, but I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And what happens. And, a lot of fans were like, okay, like, why can't we spend? That's a big thing and they're not saying like you have to go and get someone like Messi, but just spend a bit, get some decent players, bring in some people that are not you know, like guys that actually are seasoned, have some experience and can bring something new to it, because while the Union have a fantastic academy and they're bringing up young talent, a lot of people are like, well, then they get sold off, like, okay, Kevin Sullivan, yeah, he just turned 15, and then when he's 18 he's going off to Man City,
Right.
Yeah.
and we have a lot of other guys that are getting sold
McGinn,
off,
Aronson,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they're like, okay, you get good talent, but then you sell them to Europe. And a lot of people don't realize, okay, but yeah, a lot of these guys, they're good enough to go play in Europe. And right now Europe is, where it's the best. But um, it's just been kind of a combination of, yeah, they're looking at teams like Cincinnati, looking at teams like Columbus, actually, you know, s- getting some spending a bit, but also, they're not these huge market teams. It's not like Miami,
exactly.
So it's like, okay, why can't we have something more like that? And then, just I went to the town hall that the team had with
Yeah,
the
let's
owners,
talk
and
about that because your video made tons of
oh my
traction.
gosh,
And then,
like
so
it was crazy.
just I'll give you my 5-second take. I mean, I agree with the academy system. I think
Hmm.
academy level and MLS is where it's at, but also Makanya is your only U22 signing. And
And he's never played with the first
yeah,
team.
and I love Makanya. I love his story. I think he's a good player, but you now opt into this new 2 DP, and now you got Makanya and 3 open spots.
Meanwhile, people are looking at Miami, who are totally using the U22
Yeah,
initiative
right, right.
well.
Capping that out. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I think what's happened is the Union have a system that works for them. I think Ernst is doing a good job, but at the same time,
Well,
you
the
know,
league's gotten better
I
too.
Got to
think
be able to fill it in.
Yeah.
yes, you got to fill
Yeah.
that in. League's gotten better. And I go back to an interview with Tom Bogart and Chris Albright, who, I love. Chris Albright's got money now. Now I know Cincinnati fans, well, I've seen some Cincinnati fans asking for his head all day. You're laughing because, I mean, we all get it. Like fans are asking for GM's heads and everything.
Yeah.
I think they're
Mhm.
both doing great jobs.
Give us the moon and the earth at the same time, please.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work that way, but unfortunately, this is the reality both these clubs are in. I mean, I think the ownership, if the ownership could just pay that $2-3 million on U22,
Mhm.
get those guys that then like Miami can sell for $15 million,
Mhm.
to a European club, that'd be great. And it's great business. But I think the Union just are at a crossroads. Like they value the academy, and that's great. But
Mhm.
how do we expand on the first team? Look, we've heard, you know, Baribo, Ua, Gazdag, they're second level DPs, and that's fine. They're
Mhm.
overperforming, and the Union have always been. I mean, Ua was bought for 2 million, now 4 million. Now you see all these averages of these Union players going up on transfer market, which for what it's worth. But
Sure.
at the end of the day, like they're developing these people.
Yep.
But now get you know, $2-3 million player, make him a $10 million player.
Yeah.
I think that's the frustration in
Yeah,
fans.
like a lot of fan base is like, okay, if we had a Lucho on our team,
But
there you go. You just
but you gotta have the money to buy a
yeah.
Lucho.
And yeah, so but yeah, basically long story
But
short, a lot of
the
people think
question
ownership's cheap.
Yeah,
But the
go ahead.
question is, like, so why did, like, I mean, they're obviously not getting pennies for Julian Carranza and the Aronson brothers. Like, where's the money going after they get those big transfers? Like,
Oh, here's the thing about Julian Carranza. You know what
Oh,
Union got? You can
what
go
do you
on
get?
you can go on transfer mark and see.
we'll talk about it.
Just yeah. Yeah.
Nothing
Mm,
for Carranza? Oh my goodness, that would be that would
mhm.
be depressing. I mean, he was one of the best, like, pure goal scorers in the league. I mean,
Yeah.
I would put him up there with Danny Bwanga and
Yeah,
Benteke.
Mhm. Yeah, long story short, if he would have I mean, there were offers out there and yeah,
yeah,
he didn't want to go at the time and yeah.
yeah. That's the story.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
it's on transfer market.
Mm,
So
Great,
yeah.
yep.
fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, so that happened.
All right. So anyway, with an intense decision day blooming, what
Mhm.
are you looking forward to this match on Saturday?
Uh, I mean, FC Cincinnati's position is secured.
Yeah,
Um, between the Union and FC Cincinnati, I think the most I think that where are these teams' heads at? I think that's the number one storyline coming into it,
correct.
right? Are the Union really willing to just kind of ship it in for the season and say, okay, this has not necessarily been what we expected. Are we just kind of just rolling to the finish line here, or are we actually going to go for it? We still have pieces. I mean, the Union still have pieces that are, I mean, significant and eye-watering, and they've had recent performances that remind you that the Union are probably still one of the best probably top 5 teams in the East. I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
mincing words there. I still think they're one
No.
of the best.
Mhm.
And then same for FC Cincinnati, right? Are you going to go into the playoffs on this series of terrible results,
Mhm.
like losing at home, losing a game that you really shouldn't? Like, are you going to kind of smack around a team a little bit and say, hey, this is why we finished where we are? Um, so it's really just understanding where the mentality is for both of these clubs, either ending the season for the Union, or getting into the I think the highest you can get is 8, right? Is that correct? Or is 7 still in play?
I think 8th, but I
Yeah.
could be wrong. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just crazy to think that at one point the Union were the last undefeated MLS team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then they
it's
went on
just
a
been a weird
crappy
year.
run.
Once Andre went down, like, remember we were going to RSL, like, holy crap,
Oh,
now
yeah,
it's
RSL
going,
lost is when it
and
tanked.
then it all went downhill.
Yeah,
And
because Union didn't really lose at home up until that point, so
no,
How many in a row was it at home? Because I remember,
gosh.
like, watching a couple of those matches, and it was like
it's
they've
like four.
never lost 3 in a row at home.
It
They've
was like
never lost
4 in a
4.
row, and
It
then
was
we
like
Yeah.
got a draw,
yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
kind of got back into it, and then Leagues Cup happened, and you're feeling better. I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. And I agree with Jim. On any one day, you can pull off a blockbuster. Like you're
Yeah.
like,
They could
hey,
beat anybody legitimately. Like,
yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I
a
mean,
fully
Ua goes
Mhm.
down to Miami, puts a goal in
Yeah, Miami.
2 minutes, and
Yeah.
then in 10 minutes they could have put 3 in the back of the net against Calendar, and you're
Mhm.
thinking, holy crap! But then Messi is inevitable, and then
Yeah.
Suarez does what Suarez does, and
Yeah.
it's 3-1. You're thinking, what's happened? But if those balls go in the back of net, we're probably thinking of a
Mhm.
different story, and this team has a different
Or you
momentum.
or you put a beating on NYCFC,
Yeah,
away, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
you know,
and it's like the only
Super
third
impressive.
loss, and you didn't have 2 of those 3 losses in Yankee Stadium. So
or the Red Bull game. So like,
yeah,
they have these flashes of what could be, and
and that's
they lay an egg sometimes.
and that's why I still believe Jim says like we get in the playoffs, we can beat anybody.
Yeah, that's the key.
100% agree with them.
But they're gonna need some help.
But also, we're gonna need some help, and then we're going to go against Cincinnati. That's the best, second best now, road record in MLS. And I get it, but my thought is if the Union come out, play loose, and just, get 2 goals up early. Now, we saw that last year, and then they came back and scored, but
Oh, don't even get me started on that. Like, okay, this is where I had a problem with some of the Sons of Ben, and I'm in Sons of Ben too. And I was in the section there, and there were people. Yeah, were you actually in the crowd?
Yeah, I was at.
There were people in Sons of Ben shouting like overrated as the Cincinnati players were going to the locker room. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing, people?
So,
Like, and then of course, Cincinnati came back to tie it, and I'm like,
Vasquez's
ugh.
goal just trickles in the net, and that was our whole season. I go, and then he's looking at some like, yep, that's it.
Like the fan base can drive me nuts sometimes with like,
But
that kind
you
of
know what?
stuff.
That's probably the number one thing you don't need to do is piss off
Yeah.
Joe Acosta. Like he will take it personally.
Yeah.
He's one of the most competitive people I've ever seen in sports.
Yeah.
And that's credit to Pat Noonan to bring that anger and drive back into him as a coach. Like,
exactly, because it's a belief, right?
Right.
It's a belief, right? You can be arrogant and suck, and like at some point you're gonna break a little bit.
Yeah.
But I
when
got
you're arrogant and you have that belief behind you, like I mean, he's been playing on a bum foot for 2 years now. I mean, he doesn't miss games. You can't pull him out. He'll play Open Cup games. He'll play whatever.
Yeah.
He's the most competitive person I've ever seen.
I mean, you saw that in Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, the best gotta go down at the end of the day. I mean, we see that with Gazdag. Gazdag goes extra time. He's gassed, I mean, you gotta let your best players play. At the end of the day, if they're gassed 90 plus, they gotta go.
Yeah. Take the girl that you brought to the dance, man. Or
exactly.
That's a terrible like.
No, but yeah. No, I get what you're saying. So let's talk about MLS Next Pro. Do you follow it?
Yeah. I mean, I try to keep like a pulse on it. It's hard because it's like, again, going back to the time commitment. It's like the day after a FC Cincinnati game, I'm usually like, okay, I gotta try to like be attentive as a father and a husband. So,
have you been to any Cincinnati 2 games?
Yes, yeah, it's a fun place, man. That's it's actually where I went to school at NKU.
All right.
So it's like a 500 seat stadium. Tickets are always free, so just like you have to like sign up for it beforehand, but there are free tickets. It's a good time. FC Cincinnati just completely turned a 180 out of nowhere this year. I mean, it looked like much of the same for the first 2 years. It's like, holy cow. Like they just like popped off a 6-game win streak. It was insane. How about you guys?
I mean, we're gonna have you're gonna have their first home match on Sunday.
Yeah, Union too. Yeah. So they play Sunday at home against NYCFC too. I know they well, Cincinnati.
Jillian, so Justin, Jillian's the voice of you too, apparently, because she goes down there all the time, talks to Marlon.
Yeah.
We both have. I mean,
we've interviewed several of the players on our podcast.
We had Eddie Davis, we've had Neil Pierre, we've had Frankie Westfield. Haven't had Kevin, but we've had a couple of the other players on there as well.
Yeah.
And we've talked to Marlon personally, off air, on air, and like it's just a really good, like, I'm probably gonna go down on Friday just to talk and watch, for that practice. I wish more people would cover it.
Yeah, they're a fun group, honestly, and with all the ups and downs the first team has had this season, it's been refreshing to follow Union too, because they actually are for sure in the playoffs, and so in fact, they're even so our Union 2 has its own supporter group too, the Bridge Brigade,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's people that are pretty much in Sons of Ben too, but like they
Yeah.
have their own supporter group, and they're even going to do a tailgate. And to anyone listening, yeah, if you go down Sunday, I think it begins at 1. It's BYOB and stuff, but bring your own food and everything. But they're doing a tailgate starting at 1 for the game. But yeah, it should be a good time. I mean, super fun. I know FC Cincinnati too. I know they finished top of the table there in the East, and
They're gonna be tough.
they're tough. Like yeah,
They
they
have the
kind of had
Union's
Union 2's
number.
number. Yeah. So, um,
I'm
I,
I'm
should be
wait
they
I'm
fun.
took a
waiting.
page. They took a page out of the first team, and they stole a bunch of your players, and now
Yeah,
now
exactly.
now they're winning.
I'm waiting to make that trip to Northern Kentucky University. So
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy it, man. It's like it's. I mean, it's completely different game day atmosphere,
right.
and vibes. I mean, there's really nothing over there, uh, but the crowd just completely carries it. I mean, you got the tailgating there at the basketball arena parking lot. I mean, it's a fun situation. And I'm curious, are you guys like, I know a lot of MLS Next Pro is pushing toward like a little bit of a rebrand for each of the clubs. Like, have
Yeah.
you guys heard anything about that for the Union too? Are you guys getting like a new
Um,
name or a new badge and all that stuff?
we haven't heard that, but
Okay.
that's not surprising.
Yeah.
Also, if you know what I'm going after,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's but at the same time, I think MLS Next Pro is trying to maybe compete with USL, and
Yeah. It's
I
it's it's essentially on the same line as USL League One, so it's
yeah,
third
and
division.
but I feel like Dom wants to go championship, and you can't go there. They're
Yeah,
two different
yeah.
things. So
Especially when they're married to the first team. Like,
right,
it doesn't matter if you rebrand it or not. Like, Huntsville is still gonna feed into Nashville. Like, so
exactly.
Mhm.
it's like you could change the name, you could change the logo, you do all that stuff, but it's still like the two team. And like FC Cincinnati, I think their two team was like Commonwealth United, I think is what
Yeah,
they
Mhm.
like the supposed um rename is. And I'm kind of mixed about it because like it gives a little bit of an identity, right? So if
right,
like I use the example for Huntsville, but I think it's a good example, right? Like for at least for my argument. But to have like a community like Huntsville, Alabama, which I don't know if
right.
anybody's ever been there. It's a decent place, but there's no professional sports teams other than the Birmingham Legion in Alabama. So to have something for a Huntsville native to be able to like, go out on a Sunday night and watch some soccer is pretty cool. And then it's their own, right? Like if they would have called that like Nashville SC2,
Yeah,
like I don't think the community would have gravitated. And that's where we're at, right? Like the FCC2 plays in a completely different state. We
Mhm.
we we play down here in northern Kentucky, us heathens in Kentucky.
Yeah, like
hey,
for Union, it's a
hey,
little
you
different.
got good bourbon. Let's
Oh,
be
Yes,
we
honest.
when we
that's
went,
true.
yeah,
Horses and
actually,
Uh,
bourbons.
we did go over
eh,
into Kentucky when we were in Cincinnati last year.
especially me. I went there. It was like,
And
yep.
for me, also, was to check off another state too, because I'd never been.
But no,
Perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, also, you know, Huntsville has Rocket City Trash Pandas, which Jillian
minor league
Yeah.
shared.
baseball,
Yeah,
which is a freaking
but
great name.
I'm teasing because it's
Yeah,
like Rocket City Trash Pandas. I don't get
yeah. I just had to go and buy a shirt
that.
because I'm like, that is awesome.
That is a clutch shirt
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
but
yeah.
no, at the end of the day, I I think MLS Next Pro is on the right path, and that's not me being like in the media. It's just me being honest. I think, but they have some. I like make it your own thing. Don't try to compete with everybody else.
Yeah.
And we saw this with the rebrand of NPSL. We saw this with USL back in like the early 90s, early
Mhm.
2000s, trying to compete with MLS. Like everybody, like I know the pro rel crowd will chime in probably, but
Yeah.
make it your own.
your own league. And
Yeah, like, I
and
think there's a league for everybody, and I
I would
wanna
be
hear your
s I just would be so much more sympathetic to the USL if the USL hadn't, like, come out and said, like, a year ago that they are working to compete for a Division 1 status. So,
Mhm.
right.
that's where I, like, lose the sympathy, right? I love USL, like, I have
Mhm.
numerous scarves over here.
We
I
love the Las Vegas Lights.
Yes, at all
Mhm.
levels. It is compelling, so I mean, it's
Mhm.
compelling football. They have
It
great
is.
venues. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Louisville's stadium.
I
That's,
want to.
that's in the top 15 in all of the US. That is one
Heard.
of the best venues you could go to, but, um, you can't sit there and say, like, "Oh, now we're the victim," whenever you're, like, literally aiming guns at the MLS and saying, "Hey, we're coming for you."
Mhm.
Like, what did you expect the MLS to do, right? They're gonna try to squeeze you out of the market.
Yep.
So anyway, Justin, this has been a fun conversation, man. I appreciate it as
Absolutely.
always. But where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find us at cincinnati or on social media at Cincy Soccer Talk. It's a great group of guys and gals that, like I said at the top of the show, pour their hearts into this. Um, there's, we have podcasts, 3 podcast shows a week. We have plenty of writing, a great, probably one of the best photography teams that you can find in the league. So yeah, just check us out. If you're looking for me personally, you can find me on X at underscore JE Blair, and that's where you'll see me.
All right.
All right, awesome. And for the Union fans out there, Fritz Sons of Ben are doing tailgate a little bit differently. This Saturday, it's going to start slightly earlier, and yeah, actually, here, they're doing Pints for Pets. They normally have done that as a separate um event, but they are kind of combining it with the tailgate, and they've just tacked on $5 to the um fee for it. So it's donating to a local rescue. Um and they're gonna have some door prizes and different things for Pints for Pets. This is our cat Oscar, one of our rescue pets. So that's always a good cause, and so we look forward to that. So people going down to the game, definitely check that out. And then, like we said, there will be a tailgate on Sunday before Union 2. So lots going on.
Yeah.
We'll be down at Subaru Park for both of those. So should hopefully be a good weekend, a fun weekend. The weather actually looks good for once because it seems to always rain for Union games or be freezing cold or both. So,
And I'm ready to hurt again.
you know, yeah, whatever happens, well, we'll have some fun this weekend, hopefully. So,
All right. And until
yeah.
next
Oh,
time, this has been the one episode of the One Team We Agree On.
the one episode, huh?
Yep. The one episode.
No, and be sure to like and subscribe, leave us comments because we love hearing from you. Be sure to follow us on our various social media accounts. We're on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at TOTWAG. We're on Instagram and Facebook at The One Team We Agree On, YouTube at The One Team We Agree On, and our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. And I'm kind of slacking on my TikTok because I still haven't uploaded something and will do. I'm at Jillian underscore Almany for that. So yeah, definitely check it out and comment with us.
And Justin, thank you so much for
Thanks
coming on the
again.
show.
Thank you guys. It's a pleasure, man. I really enjoy your all's content over there, and I can't wait to see how this game goes this Saturday. Hopefully, we're both satisfied with the result.
Yeah, it should be a
Hopefully.
good one, I think. Either way, I think it's gonna be a great game because when these 2 teams match up, you know,
It's
it
going to be
definitely can be
fun.
fun. Yep.
And until next time, Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
See you at the game.